Luigi Mangione, a name that quickly became infamous following his brief stay at the State Correctional Institution, SCI, at Huntingdon in Pennsylvania, has caught the attention of the public, both through his involvement in the highly publicized murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson and through the experiences shared by fellow inmates at the prison. The details of his time at SCI Huntingdon were shared by Vaughn Wright, a prisoner who was held at the same facility for around 10 days, and who wrote an account of his observations in the Prison Journalism Project. Wright's account paints a unique picture of Luigi's stay in the correctional facility. Mangione was initially held in the rear section of D Block, an area that had previously been designated for death row inmates. This area, known for its restrictive nature, was one that came with its own set of challenges for both guards and prisoners alike. Wright described the experience as a tense one, detailing how every time Mangione was escorted from his cell, the entire D Block was locked down. This lockdown meant that no movement was allowed for the other inmates, who were forced to remain in their cells during Mangione's transfers. What stood out about Luigi Mangione's time in SCI Huntingdon was his appearance. Instead of wearing the typical orange prison jumpsuit that most inmates were issued, Mangione was dressed in a turtle suit. This was a padded suit that is generally used for inmates who are at risk of self-harm. Given the intense media attention surrounding his case, this unusual attire added to the perception that he was receiving special treatment compared to other prisoners. Mangione's high-profile nature had a significant impact on how the guards treated him, with Wright suggesting that the treatment was less harsh than what would typically be expected for an inmate in that facility. It appeared, according to Wright's account, that the prison staff was treating Mangione with more leniency, possibly because they'd wanted something from him, with many eager to be a part of what was considered one of the biggest crime stories of the year. While Mangione's time at SCI Huntingdon may have been brief, it was certainly eventful, with even the prisoners themselves taking note of his presence. Inmates from the nearby E Block were said to be watching Ashley Banfield's live broadcast from outside the prison, where she reported on Mangione's case. The inmates, in an apparent show of excitement and support, responded by yelling and flashing their ceiling lights in a synchronized manner as Banfield delivered her updates. Wright, who was no stranger to the often silent and restrained atmosphere of prison life, noted that the noise and unity among the prisoners in response to Banfield's live coverage were reminiscent of the excitement that had filled the prison during the 2018 Super Bowl when the Philadelphia Eagles won their first championship. It was clear that Mangione's case had become a focal point within the prison, and prisoners were eager to engage with the outside world, if only through small gestures like signaling their attention to Banfield's reporting. In his written account, Wright highlighted the fact that many of the prisoners at SCI Huntingdon had become fixated on Mangione's case. Everyone wanted a piece of the biggest crime story in the nation, Wright said, referring to the attention that Mangione's arrest and subsequent legal battles had garnered. However, despite the unusual treatment and the media circus surrounding the case, Wright observed that many of the inmates were not sympathetic to Mangione's situation. Instead, they viewed him as just another part of the broader criminal justice system, with many speculating about how they would have handled the situation differently had they been in his shoes. As Wright shared his thoughts on Mangione's brief time at SCI Huntingdon, he also noted the indelible mark the case had left on the prison. Mangione is and will forever be an SCI Huntingdon alumnus, he wrote, emphasizing how Mangione's case had become a defining feature of the prison's recent history. The inmates, who would likely follow Mangione's case as it moved through the criminal justice system, would continue to discuss his story and wonder what it would have been like if it had been them facing similar charges. In prison, where everyone has a story to tell and an opinion to voice, Mangione's story would likely be a topic of discussion for months, if not years to come. But Mangione's time in the spotlight did not end there. With the media attention surrounding his case, there was also speculation about potential future projects that might feature his story. News outlets, celebrities, and fans alike began wondering if his story could be turned into a movie or a television series. In fact, one of the most talked about discussions was about which actor might be cast to portray Mangione in a potential project. As fans and media outlets began circulating suggestions for who would be the perfect actor to play the role of Mangione, one name stood out among the rest: actor and heartthrob Chris Hemsworth. Hemsworth, known for his roles in action-packed blockbusters like Thor and Extraction, was often suggested by fans on social media as the perfect fit for portraying Mangione. His tough guy persona and dramatic range made him an obvious choice, but Hemsworth was quick to respond to the idea of playing the infamous inmate. During an interview with a popular entertainment outlet, Hemsworth addressed the speculation about him potentially taking on the role of Mangione. He acknowledged the curiosity surrounding the idea but made it clear that he was not interested in jumping into a project about a real-life criminal case at this time. While Hemsworth admitted that the idea of playing such a complex and controversial character intrigued him, he also made it clear that he would need to carefully consider the ethical implications of portraying someone involved in such a serious crime. The actor emphasized the importance of approaching sensitive topics like this with the utmost respect and care, ensuring that the story was told responsibly. Though Hemsworth ultimately ruled himself out as the potential star for a project about Mangione, his response sparked more conversation among fans and media outlets about who might be the best actor to take on the role. With Mangione's case still fresh in the minds of many, it's clear that his story will continue to captivate audiences, both in and outside of the prison system. Whether or not a movie or television series is ever made about Mangione's life, it's certain that his case will remain a topic of conversation for years to come, not only among the prisoners who followed his case closely at SCI Huntingdon but also among the public, who continue to be fascinated by the drama and intrigue surrounding his involvement in the high-profile murder of Brian Thompson. As the case moves forward through the criminal justice system, Luigi Mangione's name will undoubtedly remain in the headlines, and the public's curiosity about his story will only grow. Whether he becomes the subject of a media project or simply fades into the background of criminal history, one thing is certain: the inmates at SCI Huntingdon will never forget him, and his story will remain an integral part of the prison's modern narrative.